Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Class 15 of the Obsession Beast Parent Education Level 1 course. And today we're talking about why does pay-to-play actually exist? So the question we want to start off with cost rising, why is pay-to-play a thing? What is the deal with pay-to-play and why does it actually exist? And that is obviously a fantastic question, which is what we're going to be answering today. And to predicate this, it starts with a deal between FIFA, US Soccer, and MLS. And I don't know how much you know about this, but basically, long story short, the United States is one of maybe 2 or 3 countries in the entire world that does not have promotion and relegation within its ecosystem. So within the United States, right, we have MLS, you have USL Championship, USL 1, then you have a bunch of other leagues too, like NISA, UPSL, there's a categorized list of leagues. And there is absolutely zero promotion and relegation amongst them. And that is because FIFA, US Soccer, and MLS have a deal that has put MLS as the only Division 1 league in the country. And there's no competition towards that. Now, you might argue and say, well, other leagues, you can't take League 1 from France to make it League 2. You're right, you can't. But teams can earn their right up by promotion. Or if they don't do well enough, they get relegated. That's the whole point of the other ecosystems that are involved in world football. So if we go to England, there's a pyramid, so it goes like this, and it comes to the top like that. And at the top, you have the Premier League. The second division is called the Championship. Then you have League 1 and League 2. Those are all pro divisions, with 1 and 2 being lower. And then you have non-league football, which would be Division 5 and lower. But the point is, you can have an organization go from the bottom league of non-league all the way to the Premier League. So that is why the United States looks like a mess, because in order to get a team in the top division in the MLS, you have to pay $350 million just to get a franchise, if not higher at this point, plus operational costs and player costs and staff costs and so on and so forth. Just the buy-in is $350 million plus. That is the greatest form of pay-to-play in the world, in my opinion. Whether I'm right or wrong, you tell me, but the greatest form of pay-to-play in the United States comes from our own system, because the pro level, you have to pay over $350 million just to have a franchise to play in the top division. So that's pay-to-play. Now, what you may or may not know is with pay-to-play, there is only one organization again, and it starts with MLS, that has benefit from what we call compensation for formation. So this is a very big ranging topic. I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible to you. But if you go to other places around the world, so using big countries, England, Spain, France, Argentina, Brazil, you pick your country that follow the FIFA promotion and relegation system, their academies are either free or dirt cheap. And the point of this is because they get financial benefit from something called compensation for formation and solidarity payments. Now, how this works is, the reason why a club can make it free is because if they develop a player and somebody else from another country comes to buy them, again, I'm paraphrasing this for you to make it as simple as possible. So let's use an example. The Endrick example from Palmeiras to Real Madrid. Palmeiras developed Endrick for free. They didn't charge the family anything. He went through the system, became a first-team player. Real Madrid comes up and buys him. Now, there's 2 fees that Real Madrid are going to have to pay, technically 3. One is the transfer fee for Endrick, which was like $20 million. And then the second fee is going to be training compensation and solidarity payments, which is to help cover the cost of the academy to continue to produce talent. So the only organizations in the United States that can benefit from compensation for formation are the organizations that are free. There might be other ones, but on the big scale, free is MLS academies. So like, I live in Orlando. Orlando City has an MLS academy. The academy is free. They have a I think it's U12, U13, U15, U17, and then MLS Next Pro, which is the second team. So they are free because they get compensation for formation. Now, what does this actually mean though? So compensation for formation, you can see on your screen here, we have a definition that comes straight from FIFA, which is training compensation shall be paid to a player's training club when a player signs his first contract as a professional. And 2, each time a professional is transferred until the end of the calendar year of his 23rd birthday. The obligation to to pay training compensation arises when the transfer takes place during or at the end of the player's contract. The provisions concerning training compensation are set out of Annex 4 of these regulations in the FIFA documentation. And that's basically what training compensation looks like. And then there's a second part, like I mentioned, called solidarity payments. So it's a continuous process of financial resource that is given back to the club that develops players. So this means within the United States, the only programs across the country that can receive benefit of training compensation and solidarity payments is MLS academies. So they have a reason to make it free. Now, you might be able to argue that is it the best way for it to be free in terms of are they actually trying to develop players? That is a completely separate argument. We're not going to go into that today, but we are going to talk about is the training compensation and how this impacts your child and you obviously. So when is training compensation due? I'll try to quickly read this one as well. In simple terms, training compensation is due to the player's training club when they sign their first professional contract or each time they are transferred until the end of the calendar year of their 23rd birthday. For agents, training compensation is something that you must understand as it is relevant when discussing transfer fees and will need to be accounted for in negotiations every time your client transfers up to the age of 23. Okay, so it's a lot of information. Now there's a little bit more because again, this gets very detailed. I don't want to overwhelm you too much, but basically there are categories for training compensation. There's category 1, 2, 3, and 4. Depending on where the club is located, they can fit into a certain category. But here's one piece to add into this. For the calendar years of the ages between the player's 12th birthday and 15th birthday, the training club will be owed a sum per year at the rate of the category 4 club. However, for the calendar year of the 16th birthday until the calendar year of the 21st birthday, the training compensation owed depends on the category of the club where he is signing his first professional contract or is transferred to. So there's a lot of information that goes into this. It's way more complicated than what you're understanding, and this paragraph probably makes it a little bit more understanding in terms of the complicatedness of it. But because we don't have promotion and relegation, and we instead have a single form of pay to play, or the greatest form of pay to play, and there's no relegation, you don't have to earn anything. So MLS, like I mentioned, is a franchise. And it's the highest form of pay-to-play to ever exist in the United States and probably around the world. Now, what this leads to is that there are zero incentives in the United States to develop players because pay-to-play exists. Now, 99.9% of clubs around the country are in the business to just make money. And the money that clubs make in this model of pay-to-play is parents pay to have their kids play. And when they're paying to have their kids play, the clubs take that resource and they say, hey, we're giving you the option to play with these leagues that have a patch on your shoulder. And that doesn't mean they have to do what's right for the player development because you're paying for the service. And it starts from the parents, really. In level 2 of the Obsession Beast Parent Education, which is way more in depth, we'll cover more of this. I'm just trying to provide the overview with it. I don't want to confuse you too much. But it's important that you understand that the average clubs in the United States is just business. Development is not the priority. Now, I made this a tweet, and I'm going to read it to you, but basically what I tweeted was, what everyone fails to realize is there is no incentive for shit to be free or cheap. Let me say that again. There is no incentive for youth soccer, and probably any sport, to be honest, to be cheap or free. I did run a nonprofit last season that was a 501c3 that had 96 players playing soccer for free twice a week. They didn't pay a dime for any of it. We got zero benefit other than just goodwill. So it felt great helping kids play soccer. That was awesome. But we don't get any benefit out of it other than helping kids play soccer. And that's cost to us. We took that on as a cost to help kids play soccer for free. We wanted to make an impact. We're doing the same thing this year. And long story short, we don't get any benefit other than goodwill, trying to help people make better decisions in the community and help people in need. Now, the difference is, if you look at the average organizations, regular soccer clubs, they have no reason to go out and help underprivileged children. Why? Because there's no incentive. They don't get anything out of helping them other than goodwill. So what is the point of actually doing it? Now, let's look at an example here with Jude Bellingham. So he grew up at a club called Birmingham City. That was where he was formed. He signed a professional contract with them at 16 years old. And he then went to a club, I think 2 years after, at 18, he went to Borussia Dortmund. So Borussia Dortmund came and bought him. Boom, picked up, left. So now he's at Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund had to pay a transfer fee and all that goes with it. Cool. Last summer, or this past summer, Real Madrid comes calling. They need to pay Borussia Dortmund a transfer fee of $115 million. Okay? Now, Jude Bellingham at this age is like 20 years old. And so Real Madrid had to then pay a payout of training compensation based on the fee of around $6 million just in training compensation and solidarity payments, because and this money goes back to Birmingham City for his development and preparing him to get to that level. So that's where it gets, the benefit is if you can develop a player to get to the top level, that money that they received will probably pay for the academy for the next 5 to 15 years, depending on how they spend the resource. But just the money of Jude Bellingham becoming a pro, just from the training compensation and solidarity payment, that will cover between 5 to 15 years of the academy, which is crazy to think about. So again, they have an incentive to develop players. Now, like I mentioned, there are 4 categories of compensation for formation. There's category 1 to category 4. The only 2 regions within the world that can use category 1 is UEFA and CONMEBOL. So UEFA is Europe and CONMEBOL is South America. Those are the only 2 countries that have a category 1 club. Everybody else is category 2, 3, or 4. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail with this. It's just to give you the idea where the most money can be earned for player development. So if you're a category 1 club, you can receive the most financial benefit, which you're going to see right here. Okay, so this should help, make a little bit more sense from the overview of compensation for formation. So you can see right here. You have AFC, you have CAF, CONCACAF, CONMEBOL, OFC, and UEFA. So the only 2 organizations that are category 1 is UEFA and CONMEBOL. However, UEFA gets the greatest financial benefit of having 90,000 euros in a category 1 circumstance, where CONMEBOL only gets 50,000. You look at category 2, everybody else can fit into a category 2. It does not mean they are a category 2. And then same thing with 3 and 4. A lot of organizations are going to be category 3 or category 4. It all depends on the infrastructure, the level of the play they're at, and the environments. And that, again, there's way more to that than just what you're seeing here, but this is just to help you understand why pay-to-play actually exists compared to what almost the entire rest of the world uses with compensation for formation. Okay? So the reason for the mess of youth soccer can be explained by one simple measure. And I wish I had a bunch of it in my hand right now, but it would be money. It's just making it rain. It's money, 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 money. Why? Parents go ahead and pay for their child to play. The organizations that are receiving that financial windfall go, great, we're pocketing this money for the next 10 months per player. They look at it and go, let's go get more kids. 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 Every time they bring a player in, they receive more financial benefit. So it becomes a game about numbers, not about development. That's why if you look at a lot of rosters within the youth soccer system, for 7v7, they're going to have 12 to 14 players on average, especially at big clubs. Now, when you go to 9v9, they're going to have like 15 to 16 or 14 to 16 really is that range. And they're just going to keep piling on players because the more players they have per team, more money they make. It drops their cost compared to the profit that they're going to get. That's how this all works. It's all about the dollar bill. Whether you want to believe that or not is your choice, but I'm just trying to be the one that lets you know what's actually happening with this. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some organizations that can receive financial benefit from pay-to-play, but also try to do the right thing and develop players. There are some organizations and people, so like my organization is one of them. We are not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but we try to always develop players for the long run, not just for the game at the weekend. That's our focus and that's our model. Not everybody can say that because, again, of the financial benefit of having pay-to-play, of the upfront cost. Or profit, I guess would be a better choice of word. Now, we talked about this in the first class. I'm going to bring it back up now. We do not have a unified system, and this will be, kind of crazy to think about. We have at least 8 governing bodies who can issue a player card. So if you take your child to England as the example, they have to be registered under one system, and there's one player card, so to speak, or that process of player carding through the system. In the United States, a player can literally get a player card, a youth player, from up to 8 organizations. So example, you could have, in Florida, an FYSA card, which is USYS. You could have a US Club Soccer card. You could have a USSSA card. You could have a Say Soccer card. You might be able to get an AYSO card and so on, UPSL card. So there's multiple ways to get player cards for players to play soccer in youth, which means it's a complete and utter shit show, for lack of a better term, okay? So then I want to ask you this question, and I want you to really think about it. Does any major footballing country in the world, not including the US by the way, use Got Sport? Got Sport rankings and points are completely non-existent in any other part of the world. Doesn't exist. Any real country about development, Got Soccer ranking and Got Soccer points does not exist. Got Soccer ranking and Got Soccer points are not a placebo effect, but it's a visual effect for parents to feel important about their kids because they're ranked number 5 in the state or number 5 in the country or whatever it is or in the region. That's what marketing does. It makes you feel good about yourself because you see when you go to Got Soccer, your team's ranked number 5 in the state of Florida and number 10 in the region and number 25 in the country. But it actually means nothing. No other country uses it. That's why it's all a money grab and a cash cow. Anyways, without me harping on too much, okay? This is something that I learned about club soccer a couple of years ago, and I've been really expressing it lately. Parents pay for club soccer to see their child win, not to see their child lose. They do not pay to see their children lose. They only pay to see them win. So big clubs, like I said, what I like to call cash cows, know this. They love you as parents. They don't have to offer you good training. They don't have to offer you development, progression, individual development, nothing. As long as they provide you a win, parents are happy. 97% of parents fall into this category of paying to see their child win, not paying to see their child lose. Welcome to America. Okay. Now, here are my recommendations about this class in particular. Make sure to determine value when selecting an organization or team. So go back to the youth soccer value calculator, figure out if you're getting value from your organization or not. And then remember that the goal of especially the big organizations, this is why I always recommend the little guys, because the little guys, if they don't develop players, will not survive. They'll crash and burn. So remember that more than likely the goal of the organization is dollar bills first, unless you found a coach and or an organization that truly cares. Even if they do use pay to play, like my organization uses pay to play, but we always try to put the kids' development first. Okay? FIFA, MLS, and US Soccer have a backdoor deal stopping everybody else in the country from using compensation for formation and solidarity payments. This is why pay to play exists. So maybe it's time to get on like change.com or something to start putting that process in place so we can get our voices heard to help change the system. And then final reminder is, we do not have a unified system, and there are 8 governing bodies capable of issuing player cards. And that's not really a recommendation, but it's more of just a reminder to you that this is why it is so hectic and you're in this class, because there's so many things that are going against your child's long-term development. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't want to take too much more of your time with this class. That wraps it up for class 15. Hopefully you understand and that makes sense. Without further ado, guys, let's get to class 16 and let's keep rolling along. See you there.